I think that's too much of a stretch. No, you wrote the book based on this, right? Yeah, Berserker. For years, Keanu Reeves hid his deepest problems. Now, as his body breaks down from decades of stunt work, he has to make a hard decision about John Wick 5, but behind the scenes, a more painful story comes to light. The death of his best friend. Today, we talk about our friend River Phoenix's loss of his baby daughter and the terrible accident that killed the love of his life. Keanu Reeves was born in Beirut, Lebanon, on September 2, 1964. His mother, Patricia Taylor, was an English costume designer, and his father, Samuel Reeves, was a Hawaiian Chinese geologist. They met in Beirut, where his father worked and his mother was performing. The name Keanu comes from Hawaiian, and from the beginning, Keanu's family never stayed in one place for long. When he was 2, his parents got a divorce, and his father left and his mother moved in with her new husband. She raised him and his sister Kim by herself, which wasn't easy. His father had his own problems. He got into drugs and was caught for selling heroin at a Hawaii airport. Keanu saw him for the last time. When he was 13, that was the last time he saw his father. After that, his father disappeared from his life, and his mother worked hard to support the family. Her job in the entertainment business gave her creative freedom, but it also meant that she was married more than once every New Year. They got married and moved to Sydney, then New York, and finally Toronto. Keanu had to get used to new schools, people, and a different way of life every time they packed up and left. Toronto became their home, but even there, life didn't settle down. His mother's second husband was a stage and film director, but their marriage only lasted a year. She then married a rock promoter, but that too didn't last, and she later married a hairdresser. Keanu saw his mother go through all of this. He went to 4 different high schools in 5 years because of dyslexia, which made it hard for him to keep up with reading. He had a hard time with the structure of traditional schooling and was eventually kicked out, but he had other interests that were more important to him. Hockey became his escape. Keanu Reeves grew up in Toronto, where hockey was more than just a sport. It was a way of life. He was so good on the ice that he thought about trying out He was supposed to play professional hockey for the Windsor Spitfires in the Ontario Hockey League, but a serious injury ended his dreams. He had to find a new path. Losing hockey was painful, but it led him to something he didn't expect. His childhood had already prepared him for change. After his parents got divorced, his family moved around a lot because his mother was a costume designer and had jobs in different places. So Keanu had to get used to new schools and new places all the time. Shift may have helped him build the resilience he would need in Hollywood. When he was 17, he made a brave choice. He dropped out of high school to focus on acting. It wasn't easy, but it was the best decision of his life. Even though his hockey career ended, he took the lessons he learned, discipline, teamwork, and the ability to deal with problems, and applied them to acting. He also never lost his love for hockey. He still plays for fun whenever he gets the chance. In 1984, he got his first real acting job, a small part in the Canadian comedy series Hanging In. It wasn't a big break, but it was a start. Around the same time, he got a job in a Coca-Cola commercial, which was one of his first big on-camera roles. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave him confidence. That same year, he worked as a correspondent for a CBC youth show called Going Great, where he had to interview people, present stories, and connect with young viewers. It was a different kind of performance. Stage acting also had a big impact on him. In 1985, he played Mario in Romeo and Juliet at the Leah Poussin Theater in North York. Classical theater was hard for him, but it helped him learn more about acting. Between TV roles, commercials, and stage performances, he was building a strong base for his career. During this time, he even considered changing his name because he thought Keanu Reeves sounded too strange and might make it harder to get roles, but he decided to stick with it. That choice showed him that he wasn't going to change who he was to fit in. In 1986, he got a serious role in River's Edge, a dark crime drama that premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival. The story was about a group of teens dealing with the aftermath of a murder, and Reeves played Matt, a troubled friend of the killer. He wasn't the lead, but his performance stood out. It showed depth and subtlety, showing that he could handle serious material. 2 years later, he played the role of Matt took on his first major lead role in Permanent Record, a movie about grief and teenage suicide. Reeves played Chris Townend, a team member who was dealing with the sudden death of his best friend. It was an emotional role, and he played it with honesty and vulnerability. His performance made an impact, and critics saw that he wasn't just another young actor playing troubled teens, he had real talent. These 2 movies helped him break into Hollywood, but it was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in 1989 that changed everything. The sci-fi comedy about 2 high school students, Bill Eskinder and Ted Theodore Logan Reeves, who had to meet historical figures to pass their history class, followed the 2 actors as they traveled through time. Reeves was one of the first actors to try out for the part of Head, and he and Winter hit it off right away. They both loved bass guitars and motorcycles, which made their relationship feel real. No one thought the movie would be a big hit, but audiences loved it. Even though it only cost $10 million to make, Bill and Ted made $40 million at the box office and became a cult classic. Reeves's performance as Ted, with his laid-back attitude and catchphrases like "whoa" and "excellent," became famous almost overnight. Bill and Ted's success led to a sequel, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, in 1991. The franchise even led to an animated show, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, which ran from 1990 to 1990 to 1991, but with success came a problem. Many people started seeing him only as some critics wondered if he could play more serious roles after years of playing the silly, clueless teen Ted. But Reeves wasn't the type to let other people define him. He was just getting started, and bigger roles were on the way. When Point Break came out on July 12, 1991, Reeves was still best known for playing Ted in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but this movie showed a whole new side of him. He played FBI agent Johnny Utah, who goes undercover to catch a gang of bank robbers. The thieves weren't just any bad guys, they were surfers led by the charismatic Bod played by Patrick Swayze. Johnny was supposed to catch them, but he became interested in their way of life. The tension in the movie made it more than just an action movie. It had heart. The chemistry between Reeves and Ceci was electric, and the action scenes kept people on the edge of their seats. Point Break made over $83 million worldwide, and it proved Reeves could lead an action movie. 3 years later, Speed took his career to the next level. The movie came out on June 10, 1994, and it was about a cop named Jack Traven who had to stop a bomb from going off on a bus. If the speed dropped below 50 mph, the bus would go off. The idea was simple but intense, and Reeves played Jack with a calm determination that made him a believable hero. His chemistry with Sandra Bullock, who played a passenger who had to drive the bus, added warmth to the non-stop action. The movie became one of the biggest hits of the year, making over $350 million. Reeves was now a bankable action star thanks to the huge success of Speed. A sequel seemed likely, but Reeves surprised everyone when he turned down Speed 2 Cruise Control, even though it would have paid well. He wanted to take risks and try out different roles, which showed that he wasn't just after fame, he also wanted to grow as an actor. That same willingness to take risks led him to My Own Private Idaho in 1991, which was very different from the action roles that would later define his career. It was about 2 young hustlers, played by walked almost 50 meters out of his way to go to her house. They talked the whole time, and before he left, he gave her his number in case she needed anything else. Even in the middle of a busy city, he stays grounded. He has been seen riding the subway many times, not as a celebrity, but as a regular person. He has given up his seat for elderly riders and pregnant women without hesitation. He doesn't see himself as different from anyone else, and that's what makes him stand out. His kindness extends to the people he works with at The Matrix as well. He did something that shocked Hollywood. He reportedly gave up a huge chunk of his earnings, around $75 million, so that the costume and special effects teams could be paid more. He knew that they were the ones who made the movie great, and he wanted them to be rewarded for their hard work. That wasn't the only time he did this. After The Matrix became a huge hit, he gave nearly $1 million of his own paycheck to each of the visual effects and post-production crew members. These were people who rarely got bonuses, no matter how well a movie did. In other movies, he has even taken pay cuts to make sure important actors or crew members could be hired. Keanu Reeves doesn't talk much about the things he does for other people, but stories are everywhere about how he helps because he wants to, not because he has to. In a world where fame can change people, he has stayed the same. His kindness isn't for attention, it's just who he is.